Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the DJI Ronin S at Disney World. I've had the DJI Ronin S for about 2 months now, but by far the hardest test that I put it through was taking it to Walt Disney World. In this short video, we're just gonna be talking about some of the best and worst things about the DJI Ronin S that I found in my experience. There's tons of videos out there going over all the different features and all the different things that it can do. I just wanna kind of go high level, the really good things about it and the things that weren't so good about it. So let's start off with some of the worst things about the DJI Ronin S, and the one right off the bat is this case, how massive it is. I love that it actually comes with the case, and maybe if you are spending the $700 on the Ronin S, you want to keep it in this case at all times. I am not a filmmaker. I just kind of run and gun, bring my camera around with me. So in going on this trip, what I really wanted to test was bringing this gimbal with me without the case. How did it pack? Was it easy to bring around? And what I found was that yes, it was. I could break it down, throw it in my backpack. I did use a t-shirt to kind of cover the components inside of the backpack. But one of the worst things was that the metal kind of rubbing together. For $320, I picked up the FEA Tech A1000. You can check that video out. One of the things that they thought about was putting rubber on the components that we're going to touch. I thought this was an awesome feature. On the Ronin, you can get a lot of metal kind of clanging together. On the FEA Tech, they thought about that and they rubberized those pieces so that if they did hit together, nothing got damaged, no paint was taken off. So I was very impressed with the FEA Tech in that aspect. And the Ronin for $700, I would have thought that they would have been thinking ahead and would have done something like that so that you could kind of throw it in a bag and not worry about it. I did protect mine, like I said, with the t-shirt, but not having those rubberized pieces, I was a little disappointed in that. Another worst for me was the track feature in the app. This would be where you're recording video, you set some keyframes of some positions that you want it to traverse over a designated time. I had a lot of trouble with it up front, getting it to work properly, and then towards the end of the 2 months, it just didn't work at all. I could use the time lapse and the motion lapse feature and all other features, no problem, but the track feature quit working. And the other worst is no Sony integration. You can use the infrared cable that goes on the side here to do shutter control and record control for you, but it's kind of bulky and I didn't have good reliability. I had it on time lapse and motion lapse actually skip some photos. So I would like to see that full Sony integration. I have it on my Axiom gimbal, but not on the DJI Ronin S. It's gotta be some kind of issue between DJI and Sony. Hopefully they get that resolved. But those are kind of my worsts of the gimbal, which really aren't that bad. I'm being very nitpicky. The worst one being that the track just doesn't work for me. Now let's talk about some of the best things about the DJI Ronin S, and let's start off with the strength of the motors. It can handle incredibly heavy payload. I have a very light one on there, but the motors are very strong, very quiet. It does a great job. Another thing is that it's very easy to balance. All of these knobs, you don't need any tools or anything, especially for holding this plate on. Flipping this little lever out, it does such a good job of holding it in place. I would have thought that that wouldn't have been enough force to actually hold that Manfrotto plate in place, but that thing does not move when it's locked down. I've been very impressed with how easy it is to balance and that you don't need any tools. And also, it's very good at holding balance. So like I said, I did not bring this case on my trip. I just threw it in my backpack. Every time I pulled it out of the backpack, I would throw my camera on and everything was balanced. Now, one of the things that I did a little different is that I took this plate off of my Joby GorillaPod and kept the Quick Connect plate on the bottom of my camera so that I could go between a Joby GorillaPod and this without adjusting anything on the gimbal. That's how I like to do things. That's how I've done things with gimbals in the past. So that worked out great and I never had to balance anything. Another incredible pro is the auto tuning feature. It works really, really well. If you are gonna use a Quick Connect plate on top of this Manfrotto plate, I would say for balancing, take it off because there is a little bit of slack in this Joby GorillaPod head. If I tried to balance it or do the auto tuning with this plate on, it did cause problems. So take the plate off, put the camera directly on this Manfrotto plate, do your auto tuning, and then you'll be good to go, and you'll be able to come back and add this quick connect plate on afterwards. Some other best things about this gimbal is the offset roll arm. They were not the first to do this. I had this on my FEA Tech A1000 before the Ronin came out, but they're doing it as well. It's awesome to be able to see the screen. The battery life is impeccable. I never even came close to a low battery. I think the lowest I got down to was the third bar, which is basically still full battery. It still had 75% battery, and I would be running this for hours a day. So really good battery life. Another best are the different modes that you can have, how the gimbal's set up to respond to. So I have the 3 modes set for the joystick control. One kind of a really slow speed, another one in the middle, and then the third one being much faster to kind of just position the camera. I really love that. The trigger is great. The 2 taps to bring it back to center. The holding it down, which locks the pan and tilt, just really easy to do, and it's very ergonomic. Absolutely love those features about it. One of the things that I would have liked to see, I'm not gonna put this in a worse category because I just haven't seen this yet, but if they had actual camera profiles built into the app, that would be very helpful. For instance, if I put my camera on here and balance it, and then I add a mic, then I have to rebalance it, right? It would be nice if they had, you did your auto tuning for the camera without the mic, put that on, get it all balanced, auto tune it, and then you would put the camera on, put the mic on, maybe a different camera, and then you auto tune it. If you could save those parameters and those profiles, that would be really handy for people that have multiple cameras, especially the way that they're marketing this as being more high-end, more for filmmakers. So if you've got multiple cameras, I feel like that would be very helpful instead of having to screenshot the motor parameters or auto tune each time. The gimbal is a bit heavy, but I think that's just because it's got a large battery and larger motors. When I held this thing close to my body, I never got arm fatigue. I could see if you were holding it out, then you would get tired doing that. But if I kept it close to my body, I never got tired really working with it. Another thing that I would do is that I would keep the gimbal on, but I would just hold it down inverted by my side as I walked if I wanted to rest. Instead of turning it off or pausing the motors, I would just let it keep working. The camera would be upside down, and then when I was ready to shoot again, I would just bring it back up. That worked really well and let me rest my arms without having to turn anything on or off. So that was really great. I hope this best and worst helps you decide if you want to get the Ronin S or if you don't. I think this gimbal is great. I'm gonna hang on to this. I bought it myself, and I'm gonna keep this and use it as much as possible just because I think it's spectacular. I would like to see that Sony integration, but overall it's an amazing product. It works very well. If you're interested in drones at all, I just picked up the DJI Mavic 2 Pro with the 1-inch sensor, so we'll have some tutorials and reviews coming on that in the future, so stick around if you're interested in that. Thanks so much for watching Break It Yourself. Don't forget to thumbs me up, and we'll see you next time.